Hi everybody, welcome to Bra Bullet Journaling. I am so excited to be here with you today. My name is Emma and I'm going to be taking you through what I have learned in preparation for this class, as well as some of my favorite journaling habits that I've kind of developed throughout the years. So if you want to stick around with me, this class is really well suited to anyone who loves feeling organized, is looking for a way to kind of organize their sewing projects, wants to maybe do something artistic, you don't have to, and finally, someone who is interested in something fun and new. If you have done a lot of sewing this conference and are just kind of looking for the opportunity to sit down with pen and pencil, that might also be a fun reason to take this class. So for now, just take notes and be sure you have our class handout, which will be linked in the description down below, and we'll get started. The outline of this class is pretty simple. We're going to start by just introducing it. Then we're going to cover 3 approaches that I've kind of outlined for how you might want to approach bra bullet journaling. You can kind of end up using a mix of these approaches, but for clarity's sake, I've kind of divided it into 3. The first one's going to be a really easy printable sewing planner. The next one's going to be a slightly more customized hand-drawn sewing planner. And then the third one's going to be a pretty artistic expression. And then we're going to cover, after covering those 3 methods, we'll cover materials. And then I'll put in some videos of me actually drawing out the journal pages I'm going to show you when we go over the 3 different approaches. And finally, we'll tie it all together and just kind of conclude with different ways that you might want to incorporate all these ideas together. So I'm excited to get started. To start out, I am teaching this class because I work for bra builders, and in my last year of work for bra builders, I have learned so much about kind of why something like this would be helpful, what bra makers need, and I am really excited to share with you kind of how I was able to problem solve using this technique of bullet journaling. If bullet journaling is totally new to you, you might have Googled it, and you might have run across bulletjournaling.com. This is an awesome website, and they have a really specific method for how to bullet journal. Basically, it's like a tasks and events and notes planner, but it's really much more condensed, and it's got a really cool technique to it. So that's really worth checking out, but that's not the only approach out there to bullet journaling. You might have also run across bullet journaling on Pinterest, and those bullet journals are gorgeous. I am kind of obsessed with them. Even though I hadn't really done bullet journaling before this class, I still would pin the bullet journal ideas because they just seemed like such a great way to make a planner and like something I would want to tackle eventually. So I'm glad that this class gave me the chance to go about it. So basically, I think the best way to broadly define it was an aesthetically pleasing way of staying organized. And that can take a lot of different forms, kind of like I just mentioned. Before we dive into our next thing, I'm actually gonna share with you a little bit of my journal. So this is my personal journal, and I really use it for kind of spiritual insights. It's a great tracker of kind of where I am spiritually at any given time. I started it about a year ago. And it's just such a creative expression for me. Whenever I'm just kind of feeling bored or like I'd like to do something artistic, I did it. So this is some of my more early pages, and I was playing with calligraphy and putting in some flowers. I would tuck in notes from friends. Then this one I did at the ocean, so I kind of drew some of the ocean wave patterns I was seeing, glued in some seashells. In others, I've used pastels, which you'll kind of see come up later in some of our bullet journals. This is my favorite medium by far, is pastels. I think they're gorgeous. I love taping in flowers and just getting really creative with it. I think it's just such a good reminder. I come to it every time I'm just anxious or really stressed and just need to kind of be anchored back to what truly matters to me. And so I think that this kind of artistic expression isn't for everyone, but if you're seeing this and you're really excited about it, then be sure to check out that kind of third method we're gonna go over. Okay, so now to jump into the methods. We'll start with the easiest. This is the printable sewing planner. And so what this is a binder from Amazon. And on the first little bit of it, I have just the materials cards from Bra Builders. Now, you can definitely get these from Bra Builders. If you get a lot of your materials from there, they're a great thing to put in your sewing planner. But if you tend to get your materials from somewhere else or are looking to kind of make some of these that mimic your own fabric stash, I'm going to take a second and kind of show you a tip of how you can get these perfect squares of fabric. So this is a very special kind of quilting apparatus, and what you do is that, I'm not going to cut right now. I would kill myself, but you put the rotary cutter through these different lines, and you line them up perfectly on here, and then it lets you rotate it, and then you can kind of lift it up, rotate it, and do another cut going the other direction. So once you're done cutting, which I did earlier on a much more stable surface than my hand, you're going to end up with something a little bit like this, except that you probably will have cut multiple squares perhaps. And this kind of lets you, you'd usually do that with scissors, but this lets you get those great perfect squares. So I have another materials page later in another method, but if you're looking for a way to catalog your materials, this can be a great tool and a great trick for you, that there is some quilting tools that might make your job a little bit easier there. Okay, so next, my next page of this journal is a croquis that is actually customized to my mom's measurements, since my measurements are just a little more typical of what a model would, like croquis model would usually look like. I wanted to show that my body model is something really special. They actually take your individualized measurements and make one that's customized to your body. And so this is a great way to keep track of your measurements because it gives you a sense of scale. It's a really easy way to just kind of glance at it and see it. I put some of my mom's measurements on here. And so if you are interested in my body model and making your own croquis, when you buy their package, it comes with a much better resolution one than this. This is just a preview because I wanted to keep their branding so you could see it. And it comes with like a back version too, so you can get all your measurements. So be sure to check them out. The next thing I have is a printable sewing page made by a bra maker, Kat from Kat Makes. She was one of our teachers at the Great Bra Sewing Bee last year. And she has such a great kind of project planner laid out. You can see there's just lots of different boxes to fill out, and it's really customized to what she ended up needing. So this is something that you can find on our class Pinterest board. This, as well as the other free planners I'll be using, all are saved on there. Another free planner I found was this one, which has just some different options. And so what I would recommend is just printing out a bunch and seeing what one works for you. This has a sewing project as well as different sewing goals. Then we have, this one's a dress design planner. And so this is also free and has some great resources for you to kind of even work through designing your own lingerie based on some other patterns, but making some alterations. So that's got lots of different great pages to it. This is another free one that I just found online. And this one's another great free one by Bobbin and Button. And then this one's actually one that they suggest you can tape onto a pattern envelope, or you can keep it here in your planner. And even if you have a small pattern like a bra pattern, you could tape an envelope here on the back. So those are some great ideas that you might want for a printable sewing planner. You can also get printable sewing planners just as an item on Etsy. So those ones are really cute, and if you're looking to spend a few bucks, there's just some easy downloadable ones there, some of which I've saved on our Pinterest board as well. Okay, so the next one is a little bit more intermediate. It still kind of uses that same basic idea of those boxes. That's a really well designed for you sewing planner, but it's something that you hand draw. So the first page I did that's a little bit more of that way is this one. I thought this was kind of fun. So what I did is I just cut one of these pages in this notebook, and I stapled the little portions of them. And was able to do the patterns I was thinking of, the fabrics, design. So this is kind of an analysis of my favorite underwear. So I drew them and made some notes and then just used this easily stapling, right? Super quick, but still kind of artistic, fun way to plan. So if you like something like this, this is just marker, and you'll see how I do it in the fast motion video. Okay, another sort of basic project plan outline that I wanted to show you is this one. So this one's a little bit more beautified, but it's still pretty easy. You can use the same design, and what's really cool about this notebook, this is the Kagod notebook that I'll talk about later, is that it comes with a ruler in it. So I actually did that whole design by using the ruler that was right inside the notebook, and I drew out different boxes. I used, again, that My Body Model Croquis, and I left spaces for fabric swatches. The only fabrics I had in my apartment were this very random one, so that's stapled in there, but you can actually staple your real fabrics. And I also put a envelope here for your pattern. So if you want to store your pattern along with this, this is a great way to keep organized. And a notebook like this one that has the elastic band around it isn't going to struggle to kind of have that pattern in there. Finally, a more traditional bullet journaling approach. So bullet journaling has, like I said, that really cool specific system for how you keep track of your notes. So I adapted that. Normally it's the small dots are for notes, or the dashes are for notes, the small dots are for tasks, and the circles are for events. But I thought for bra making it made sense that the circles were items you needed to shop for. So here I did kind of a pattern review of a bra pattern I wear, and just kind of made some notes about what worked, what didn't work, some shopping list items of the materials that were used on that bra that if I ever made that bra, I would definitely want to buy again. And then I made these little tasks of some alterations I would want to try to the bra. And what I actually did initially is I had a photo just paper clipped in here. So I actually ended up using it on a different spread. But that's something you can do too with this kind of more traditional method. And this came together very quickly. Finally, a page I want to show you is this one. This is, again, just kind of the easier method. You can print out that My Body model thing again and just kind of make some of the same notes as far as your measurements. So that is a pretty easy, kind of intermediate, less fiddly approach to bra making bullet journaling. Finally, as you can see by my journal, I love kind of the artistry of journaling. So I want to show you a couple artsy things you can do with your bra making bullet journal. The first one I want to show you is a wish list page. I'm sure during the Great Bra Sewing Bee you're finding all sorts of items that you may want. And so this is, if you don't have the budget for it right now, kind of a fun page to make. And then another artsy sort of page that I made was fabric swatches. I kind of told you I'd be circling back to that cutting apparatus, and this is another great place where it'd be great to have perfect squares that you can just Elmer's glue in here. So that's kind of another more creative page that you can do. And then another fun thing you can do, I love checklists. I write checklist items that I have even already completed just so I can have the joy of checking them off. So if you're like me and love checklists, I just kind of did an artsy checklist one night when I was just kind of feeling like I wanted something artsy to do. So those are some artsy pages that I did in that journal. The reason I have two is that I was trying out some different notebooks. I'll get to that later. This one's kind of fun. This is a sewing goals page, and I used the dot grid in this notebook to draw out these hexagons. You'll see me drawing it out in one of the videos. Another great thing you can do is a budget. So again, I used the ruler that's included in this journal and drew out this budget sort of table, and was able to also leave room at the bottom to write the project. Finally, this is a more artsy project page. It kind of includes a lot of these different techniques we've been talking about. So it has this traditional bullet journaling thing where I've used the little circles for the shopping list, kind of merged with some of their to-do methods down here. This was a really cool technique I found on Pinterest. I think it might be called barn doors. But basically for my during sewing notes, I created this little flippable page so that I actually have a lot of space to write here. And I kept track of my stitches here too, which, as I've been working on bras and panties, is something that I found is really tricky, is to remember exactly what width and stuff you set your stitch to. So that's something I did here and kind of did just a little illustration to go with each one because I think it's fun. Finally, at the bottom, I used a Polaroid photo. I don't know about you, but I just like hate the idea that a photo of me in my underwear is floating around on iCloud somewhere. So I think going back old school and using film is a great way to do it, and it also makes it really easy because you don't need to spend any time getting it developed. So I used a Polaroid photo here and made some notes on what worked well and what I would change. So those are kind of the three different approaches and some pages that talk about them. Okay, next thing I want to tackle is materials. So as you could tell, I tried out several different notebooks. I have these two were the primary ones I talked about, and I'm going to tell you kind of what I like about each different type of material and why. So as far as notebooks went, this one ended up being by far my favorite. You can see in our class notes a picture of it in its original wrapping and everything. And the reason I liked this one is because I adored the little pocket in the back that had the ruler. Look at how easy this pulls out. That was just awesome. It's got a elastic thing that you can put around it, which keeps it closed if you're storing patterns in it. It's got a little loop for a pen. It's a very traditional bullet journaling journal. And the other thing that you can kind of notice is that it does have some bleed through when you're using the brush pen I'll talk about later, but it's not quite as bad as it is on the other notebook. So I think that one was worth the up in price. This is the other notebook I tried. It came in a pack of 2, which was really nice. And I do like that it's a little bit thinner. I feel a little bit less overwhelmed to fill it up. But I also did feel a little bit confused about what to put on the cover. I bought it with the intention that I was going to draw something fun on the cover, and I just kind of always felt too intimidated to draw anything. And then I do want to show you the bleed through on this. You can see that it's just a little bit worse, not that much, but I liked that this paper was a little bit thicker in the K-God notebook. Okay, next we're going to tackle pens. This is something that I saw so much advice about online when it came to bullet journaling, and so I kind of wanted to go over these for myself and maybe provide some tips for you all so that you don't have to buy like 10 zillion different versions of pens like I did. Okay, when it comes to a black pen for bullet journaling, my favorite one ended up being this one, which is the Muji pen. It's so funny because at college, people talk about this for notes all the time, and I actually really don't like it for notes, but for bullet journaling, it's perfect. It's a really small pen as far as how thin it writes, but it doesn't bleed through at all. It's really tactilely like nice to hold. And one issue I had with a couple of the other pens is that they would sometimes run out of ink and you'd need to kind of rewrite over your words. That didn't happen with this pen as much. Also, that's a problem I run into more than the average bear because I'm left-handed. So if you're not left-handed, you may never run into that problem. My second favorite pen was this one, just for kind of my basic black pen. This is the Cat's Story, and it's also going to be linked in our description. It's kind of fun. It has this little cat on it. It likewise was just the same thickness, really easy to hold, and didn't really run out of ink. I just ended up liking the feeling of the thicker pen in my hand better. But if you like a smaller pen, then that's perfect for you. Another pen I ended up using a lot was just my favorite pen. So this is the Pilot G2 at a width of 10, which is super thick, and it's a ballpoint pen. And so when I was drawing things like the edges of squares and stuff, this one ended up just being a really pleasant one to use. Also, if I needed something thicker to be more pronounced than it is on those small pens, so I used this one for like the mannequins and stuff when I was writing my measurements there. I bought 2 variety packs of black pens because I thought it would be fun to use different widths. And I found out that that was something I really didn't use a lot. So this is a brand of pen I really like. It's called Micron. And this is their kind of variety pack of black pens. You can see there's a lot of different thicknesses here, but I ended up saying that this really wasn't worth the money. If I had it to do all over again, I would just buy one of those thin pens with a couple other pens I'll show you. This was the variety pack that I did think was actually kind of worth it. So this is the variety pack by Faber-Castell, and this is an amazing art brand. And what I liked about it was that it wasn't just different thicknesses of pens, but it was different types of pens. So this one's a brush pen, and I love brush pens. This I ended up using for kind of my subheadings. And then it was also kind of nice because I did use some of these and they worked really well for kind of marking the edges of things. As you can see, this is like a pretty thick, but it's like a marker tip pen. So it worked really well for making the edges and drawing the squares and stuff like that. The other type of kind of basic writing pen I tried was a fountain pen. This seemed like such a fun idea. Several bullet journalers said they did it. They recommended this particular one. The packaging is great, but I ended up hating this pen. Like, I would give it a 1 star out of 5. It just ran out of ink super quickly and just wasn't that friendly or pleasing to write with. So I would avoid buying that one if I were you. Okay, so finally the pen that I was very skeptical about buying and almost didn't buy, that ended up being one of my favorites, I used it for every single heading, is this Pentel pen. It's actually like a paintbrush. It comes white and then you put the ink in it and it kind of goes down the paintbrush, and it was so fun to use for all the headings and it just worked so beautifully. As you can see, its only downside is that it does tend to bleed through the paper just since it's a really heavy ink. But it's so amazing. I would highly recommend it. So if I had it to do all over again on a small budget, I would buy these 3 pens. One for kind of your edges. This could be this pen or another kind of thick marker pen. A small one just for all your writing, and then a heading pen. If I had a little bit more of a budget, I would swap this one out and buy these 2 pens again, but I would pick up this kind of variety set and be able to use it kind of for the subheadings and for the markers. All right, let's transition quickly to color. So my favorite thing that you'll see me using throughout all of those videos of me kind of designing the pages were these guys. These are the Tombow water-based brush pen, and they are so fun. They actually can work like a watercolor. So if you are using a notebook that accommodates to water, which most bullet journaling notebooks don't, but if you happen to be using like a watercolor sketchbook or a watercolor pad, you can cover these in water and they'll work just like a watercolor, kind of bleeding into one another. But they are just so fun. They've got 2 tips. I'm going to show you on this green one here. They've got a brush tip on one side and a marker tip on the other side. And throughout my bullet journal, I did end up using kind of both tips. So it was fun to have the flexibility in different colors, where if I wanted to kind of draw something, I could use this brush tip. But then if I just wanted to outline squares or something like that, I could use the marker tip. They're also really fun because they work like highlighters. That's why I first got introduced to them. And so if you need to highlight anything, or if you want to fill in little circles with something a little bit semi-transparent, these are a great bet. Okay. Colored pens. My favorite are these ones. As you can tell, they're a little bit used and abused. I've used them for a ton. They are an amazing kind of marker tip colored pen. They last a really long time. I've had these for quite a while. My other favorite colored pens are these ones. So they don't last quite as long. They are kind of starting to go after I use them for if I use it kind of consistently every day for a year. So they definitely have a long lastingness to them, but the other ones are slightly better. And what's really fun about them is that you can actually stand them up like so. So you can put this on your desk, and it's a really fun way. There's also, I'm obviously missing 3 colors from this, but those are my 2 recommendations for colored pens. And finally, I just have to show you my favorite medium. These are my pastels. I just have them in a box that I love that's kind of a vintage box. But these I do use in that final journal page that I showed you, where I kind of just shade that flower in and kind of draw it. And so they are so fun. I love, these are just chalk pastels. And if you kind of feel like doing something really artistic and haven't checked out chalk pastels, I just dab them on my finger and draw with them. So if I wanted to draw with them on a page right here, I would just reach into the box, rub my finger on it, set it down so you can see, here's my finger, got a little bit of pink on it, and then you can just kind of shade. So it's just such a beautiful medium, and if you want to just shade anything or kind of add a little bit of color and interest and variety to your pages, that's a really fun medium that you might not have tried before. Finally, I will mention a couple incidentals. So you may want a 3-hole punch. I did not have a 3-hole punch, if you didn't notice, for this binder, and it was so much harder just with a regular hole punch. And then this is my Polaroid camera. So this is what I used for that one Polaroid picture I showed you. And what's really cool about it is that this particular one, the Fujifilm Neo Classic, has a self-timer on it. So you can turn it on, set it on a table here, click the timer button, and then sit down in your bra. No one else needs to be there. No one else needs to ever see this picture, but it's a really helpful record for you of kind of how did this bra look on me? How did it fit? You can get much closer than I did in the photo, and you cannot wear a t-shirt underneath it. But since I was gonna show it to all of you, I kind of felt like doing that. So anyway, those are the materials. All right, so from here, I just want to show you some of the fast motion of me actually drawing and creating those pages that you saw. So to close, I'd love to bring us back to this page. This is my favorite one I designed for this class. And what I love about it is that I think it's really just the culmination of everything I learned for this class. It kind of pulls in that artisticness with using the washi tape and just the little illustration, but it also grabs from some of the other great systems by just having a great page layout that's like a simple and functional project planner. It uses that bullet journaling method that's available on bulletjournal.com. And it's just, I think, overall, definitely my favorite page. And I hope that after this class, you can create something that's the equivalent of this for you, that really describes you well, that fits your needs, and that is something that's really fun for you to do. So thank you so much for watching this class. If you have any questions, just reach out to info@greatbrowsewingv.com or post them in the Facebook group and someone can make sure they get to me. Thanks so much for your time and have a wonderful day. Bye.